Johnny Depp was born on June 9, 1963, in Owensboro, Kentucky, the youngest of four siblings in a working-class family that was always on the move. His father, John Christopher Depp, worked as a civil engineer, while his mother, Betty Sue Palmer, supported the household as a waitress, but frequent relocations made stability a stranger to young Johnny. By the age of 7, he had already lived in multiple towns across Kentucky and Florida, each move forcing him to adapt, to fit in, to reinvent himself before he could ever settle. This rootlessness left him with a sense of being an outsider, a feeling he later channeled into characters who lived on the margins of society. The chaos of his family life, worsened by the eventual divorce of his parents, drew him deeper into the sanctuary of imagination. At 12, his mother gave him a guitar, and with it, he discovered a new way to translate emotion into art. He locked himself in his room for hours, teaching himself chords, bleeding fingertips against steel strings, and finding solace in sound. Music became his shield and his rebellion, his first true identity. By 16, he left school, convinced he could make a career in rock, joining bands and playing in bars. His band, The Kids, built a loyal following in Florida, even opening for major acts. But commercial success slipped away with each missed record deal. Still, the struggle carved resilience into him, teaching that rejection was not the end, but the start of reinvention. In 1983, chasing a dream, he moved with the Kids to Los Angeles, the city of neon promises. That same year, he married Lori and Allison, a makeup artist, who introduced him to Nicolas Cage. Cage, seeing something unusual in the young musician, encouraged him to audition for film roles, a suggestion that would redirect his destiny forever. Depp's entry into acting began almost by chance, but fate has a way of shaping legends from unlikely beginnings. Nicolas Cage arranged for him to meet industry contacts, and soon Depp found himself auditioning despite little training or ambition for the craft. His first role came in Wes Craven's horror masterpiece, A Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984, where he played Glenn, the sweet boyfriend of the lead heroine who suffers a spectacularly gruesome death. Though his screen time was brief, his youthful charm and intensity left an impression on audiences, marking the start of a filmography that would be anything but ordinary. Small roles followed, including a part in Oliver Stone's Platoon, 1986, which gave him a taste of serious, acclaimed cinema. Yet it was television that would give him fame on a massive scale when he landed the role of Officer Tom Hansen in 21 Jump Street, 1987. The show became a phenomenon, transforming Depp into a teen idol plastered across magazine covers, adored by millions of young viewers. For a boy who once felt rootless and invisible, the sudden weight of stardom was both a blessing and a curse. While the fame secured his finances and opened doors, Depp felt creatively suffocated, reduced to a poster boy rather than an actor. He grew restless, clashing with producers who wanted to preserve the image while he longed for characters with depth. When the series ended in 1990, Depp walked away, determined to seek roles that would challenge expectations, even if it meant abandoning the security of television fame. That resolve would lead him to a director whose gothic imagination matched his own hunger for the strange, and together they would redefine what Hollywood thought a leading man could be. The turning point came in 1990 with Tim Burton's Edward Scissorhands, a modern fairy tale that gave Depp the chance to shed the teen idol image once and for all. As Edward, a gentle artificial man with scissors for hands, Depp delivered a performance that was haunting, vulnerable, and unforgettable. The pale face, the wide eyes, the silence that spoke louder than words. Audiences were entranced by the tragic figure he created. Critics hailed it as a revelation. And suddenly Johnny Depp was no longer just a handsome face, but an artist willing to take risks few would dare. The collaboration with Burton marked the beginning of one of the most celebrated actor-director partnerships in contemporary cinema. Together, they explored the strange and the grotesque, building a gallery of unforgettable characters. Depp starred in Ed Wood, 1994, where he transformed the world's worst filmmaker into a sympathetic dreamer, and in Sleepy Hollow, 1999, where his portrayal of Ichabod Crane balanced intelligence with eccentric comedy. Alongside Burton projects, Depp took on roles that displayed his range. Benny in June, 1993, showcased his physical comedy, while What's Eating Gilbert Grape, 1993, highlighted his ability to ground emotional drama. In Donnie Brasco, 1997, opposite Al Pacino, Depp proved he could inhabit gritty realism with just as much conviction as whimsy. And in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, 1998, he embodied Hunter S. Thompson with manic energy that burned into cult legend. By the end of the 1990s, Depp had fully reinvented himself. No longer the reluctant TV idol, but Hollywood's eccentric chameleon, unpredictable, daring, and essential. Yet the next decade would bring a transformation greater still, when he set sail in a Disney franchise no one expected to succeed. In 2003, Johnny Depp introduced the world to Captain Jack Sparrow in Pirates of the Caribbean. The Curse of the Black Pearl, and cinema would never be the same. Inspired by the slurred charm of Keith Richards and the mischievous antics of cartoon figures, Depp crafted a pirate who was unlike any swashbuckler audiences had seen before. Witty, eccentric, staggering between brilliance and buffoonery, Jack Sparrow was a gamble that many at Disney feared would fail. Executives worried his odd choices, slurred speech, flamboyant gestures, gold teeth, would alienate audiences, but instead, viewers were enthralled. The film became a global box office sensation, earning Depp his first Academy Award nomination and turning him into an international superstar. Children dressed as Sparrow for Halloween. Fans quoted his lines endlessly, and the character entered the cultural lexicon as one of cinema's great creations. The success spawned a billion-dollar franchise, and Depp reprised Sparrow in 4 sequels. Dead Man's Chest, 2006, At World's End, 2007, On Stranger Tides, 2011, and Dead Men Tell No Tales, 2017. Each film further cemented Sparrow as his signature role, even as critics grew mixed on the later installments. Alongside Pirates, Depp continued his Burton collaborations with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, 2005, Corpse Bride, 2005, and Sweeney Todd, The Demon Barber of Fleet Street, 2007, the last of which earned him a Golden Globe and another Oscar nomination. His star power soared, making him one of Hollywood's most bankable actors, commanding salaries among the highest in the industry. Yet even as the world adored him for Jack Sparrow's antics, Depp sought to prove he was more than a single role, pursuing darker, more experimental films. This era was his golden peak, but as history often reminds us, golden ages seldom last forever, and shadows soon began to gather at the edge of the spotlight. The mid-2000s were a time of extraordinary acclaim for Johnny Depp, as he balanced the wild success of Pirates of the Caribbean with a string of ambitious, often eccentric projects. In 2004, he portrayed Jan Barry in Finding Neverland, a gentle and emotional performance that earned him his second Academy Award nomination. The role allowed him to show tenderness and restraint, qualities often hidden behind his more flamboyant characters. The following year, he re-teamed with Burton for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where his bizarre interpretation of Willy Wonka divided critics, but showcased once again his willingness to experiment. Depp also voiced Victor in Burton's stop-motion Corpse Bride, bringing charm and melancholy to animated form. Yet his crowning achievement of the decade came in Sweeney Todd, The Demon Barber of Fleet Street, 2007, where he sang, slashed, and seethed his way to a Golden Globe win and a third Oscar nomination. Critics lauded the performance as bold and fearless, further proof of his chameleonic range. During this period, Depp was at the height of his fame and influence, celebrated by audiences, respected by peers, and adored by directors who admired his fearless instincts. He could headline billion-dollar franchises and still disappear into art house projects without losing his credibility. But with such success came scrutiny, and whispers began to rise about his lifestyle, spending habits, and the excess that followed sudden wealth. Depp was now living like a rock star, with sprawling mansions, luxury yachts, and a growing reputation for excess. The highs of this period were dazzling, but they masked a turbulence that would soon break through the glittering surface. Beyond film, Depp never abandoned his first love, music. Even as Hollywood celebrated him, he continued to pursue collaborations with rock legends, cementing his identity not only as an actor, but as a musician at heart. He played guitar on albums for artists like Oasis and Marilyn Manson, and he often joined friends on stage for impromptu performances that delighted fans. In 2012, Depp co-founded the band Hollywood Vampires with Alice Cooper and Joe Perry of Aerosmith, creating a supergroup dedicated to celebrating the rebellious spirit of rock. Their live performances became a blend of nostalgia and spectacle, allowing Depp to step back into the life he once thought would define him. For him, music was more than a hobby. It was a sanctuary where fame mattered less and authenticity mattered more. Friends often described him as most comfortable with a guitar in hand, lost in rhythm rather than the politics of Hollywood. His dual identity as actor-musician fed his legend, making him appear more like a wandering artist than a conventional movie star. This musical chapter also revealed a side of him that craved community and brotherhood, a contrast to the solitary figures he often portrayed on screen. Depp once said that if acting vanished, he would still have music, a reminder that his career was built on an artistic drive that extended beyond box office figures. Yet while music gave him peace, his personal life was increasingly under fire, with legal disputes, financial troubles, and personal controversies threatening to overshadow the artistry that had once defined him. The balance between his two worlds became harder to maintain as the years wore on. As the 2010s began, Depp remained one of the most bankable stars in Hollywood, but cracks began to show in the carefully crafted image of the beloved chameleon. His continued work with Tim Burton, including Alice in Wonderland, 2010, and Dark Shadows, 2012, brought massive box office returns but mixed critical responses, leading some to question whether Depp was relying too heavily on eccentric makeup and mannerisms. At the same time, his lavish spending habits became public knowledge, with reports of extravagant purchases ranging from entire islands to rare collectibles. Lawsuits emerged, particularly against his management team, over claims of mismanagement and reckless financial behavior. The tabloids feasted on these revelations, painting a picture of an actor living in decadence, while his artistic output grew increasingly uneven. In 2015, however, Depp delivered a chilling performance in Black Mass as Boston mobster Whitey Bulger, a role that reminded audiences of his immense power as a serious actor. Critics hailed it as a return of form, proof that beneath the eccentric choices still lay a performer capable of terrifying precision. Yet even as he reclaimed credibility on screen, his personal life was about to explode into public spectacle. In 2015, Depp married actress Amber Heard, and what began as a romance quickly descended into one of the most publicized and contentious relationships in modern celebrity history. Allegations of abuse, counterclaims, leaked recordings, and legal battles soon eclipsed his artistic legacy in the public imagination. Depp, once known as Hollywood's great outsider, now found himself at the center of a global media storm that would define the decade. The years that followed were some of the most turbulent of Johnny Depp's life, with courtrooms replacing film sets as his most visible stage. In 2020, he lost a libel case in the United Kingdom against the Sun newspaper, which had labeled him a wife-beater, and the judge ruled in favor of the publication after a highly publicized trial. The decision tarnished his reputation in the UK, and shortly thereafter, he was asked to resign from the Fantastic Beasts film franchise, where he had played the dark wizard Gellert Grindelwald. For many, it seemed like the final collapse of a career once thought untouchable. Yet Depp remained defiant, filing a separate defamation lawsuit against Heard in the United States, determined to reclaim his name. The trial, held in Virginia in 2022, became a cultural spectacle broadcast around the world, captivating millions who tuned in daily. Supporters and detractors clashed online, turning the courtroom into a battlefield of narratives about abuse, fame, and truth. In the end, the jury largely sided with Depp, awarding him $10.35 million in damages, while Heard received $2 million on a counterclaim. The verdict restored some of his public image, and crowds outside the courthouse celebrated as if he had won not just a case but a redemption. Still, the ordeal left scars, and the debate about his personal life remains deeply polarized. What cannot be denied, however, is that Depp endured one of the most public trials of celebrity history, emerging both damaged and vindicated in the eyes of different audiences. For an artist who had spent his life playing outsiders, this chapter cast him as one in real life. After the storm of courtroom battles, Johnny Depp's career seemed fragile, yet his resilience has always been one of his defining traits, and he began rebuilding in ways that surprised even longtime followers. In 2022, while his trial dominated headlines, he quietly returned to his first love by releasing an album with his friend, the late guitarist Jeff Beck, titled 18. The record featured covers and original tracks, showcasing Depp's voice and guitar playing, and it climbed the UK charts, reminding audiences that music was not a side note, but a core part of his identity. That same year, he began touring with Beck, performing in packed venues across Europe, where fans cheered not only the songs but the fact that their idol was still standing tall. These musical moments were more intimate than his blockbuster films, allowing him to connect with people without the mediation of Hollywood. In 2023, he appeared at the Cannes Film Festival in Jean du Barry, playing King Louis XV, his first major film role after years of controversy. The premiere was met with a standing ovation lasting several minutes, symbolizing both artistic return and public forgiveness. The performance was praised for its elegance and restraint, a reminder that even after decades of turbulence, Depp could still command a screen with magnetic presence. His return to Cannes, one of cinema's most prestigious stages, marked not just a comeback but a rebirth of sorts. While Hollywood remained cautious, Europe seemed eager to welcome him back in a serious cinema. It was a reminder that artistry can endure even when reputation is contested. For Depp, the moment was both vindication and a new beginning. In the same period, another symbol of resilience emerged when Depp signed a historic new contract with Dior for their Savage fragrance line. Despite the controversies that had clouded his name, Dior stood by him throughout the storms, and in 2023, they extended their partnership in a record-breaking $20 million deal, the largest men's fragrance contract in history. This decision was more than financial. It was a public declaration of confidence in Depp's enduring appeal as a cultural icon. Campaigns featuring his rugged, reflective presence flooded billboards and television screens, reconnecting his image with themes of artistry, wildness, and authenticity. For fans, it was proof that he had not been abandoned by the industry entirely. For critics, it was a fascinating example of how celebrity can survive scandal. The success of Savage also highlighted his dual role as both artist and brand, a man who could shift between raw performances on stage with a guitar and polished, cinematic commercials for luxury products. Financially, the deal provided stability at a time when legal fees and career setbacks had strained his resources. Culturally, it symbolized his continued ability to captivate audiences across the globe, not only through roles but through presence. Dior's faith in him, rewarded by strong sales, reflected the complex dance between controversy and charisma in modern stardom. In many ways, the fragrance campaign became a shorthand for his legacy. Flawed yet fascinating, enduring despite storms, unforgettable even when polarizing. For Johnny Depp, Savage was not just cologne. It was survival, resilience, and a reminder of his unique place in popular culture. Even as he returned to acting and endorsements, Depp continued to expand his artistic horizons, turning once again to directing after decades behind the camera. His passion project became Modi, a biographical drama about the Italian painter Amedeo Modigliani, whose struggles with recognition and identity mirrored aspects of Depp's own life. Shot in Budapest and produced in part by Al Pacino, the film allowed Depp to step behind the lens and shape a story about art, suffering, and resilience. Premiering at film festivals in 2024, including San Sebastian in Rome, Modi received attention not only for its subject, but for what it represented. Depp's evolution from performer to storyteller, reclaiming agency over his career. The film's theatrical release, scheduled for 2025, was anticipated as both a cinematic event and a symbolic chapter in his journey. For Depp, directing was not about escaping acting, but about deepening his role as a creator, crafting narratives that spoke to his own battles with fame and fragility. The story of Modigliani, a man overlooked in life, celebrated after death, resonated with Depp's sense of being misunderstood and misjudged in his own time. Directing gave him freedom, a chance to sculpt a legacy beyond the constraints of franchises or courtrooms. It also reminded the world that beneath the celebrity controversies lay a restless artist, always searching for new mediums, new masks, and new truths to reveal. In choosing Modigliani, Depp was in some ways choosing himself, confronting the world with a mirror of art's pain and redemption. As the 2020s unfold, Johnny Depp stands at a complex crossroads, his career marked by both scars and triumphs, his reputation both fractured and revered. To some, he remains a controversial figure, a symbol of the messy interplay between fame, personal life, and justice in the digital age. To others, he has reclaimed his place as an artist who survived public crucifixion and returned stronger, his resilience admired as much as his talent. What cannot be denied is the cultural impact he has left across decades, from the gothic beauty of Edward Scissorhands to the swaggering brilliance of Captain Jack Sparrow, from the tragic Jamberry to the terrifying Whitey Bulger. He has defied categorization, rejecting the safe path in favor of strangeness, vulnerability, and transformation. Awards and accolades followed, but so too did controversies that tested the boundaries of celebrity forgiveness. Today, with new films emerging, music still alive in his veins, and global brands standing by him, Depp embodies the paradox of the modern star. Flawed, fractured, yet endlessly fascinating. His story is one of turbulence and artistry, of collapse and rebirth, of a man who never stopped reinventing himself even when the world tried to define him. For every triumph, there was a trial. For every victory, a shadow. But in the end, he remains one of cinema's most enigmatic figures. As he steps into the next chapter, directing, acting, and playing music, his legacy is no longer just about the roles he played, but the survival he embodies. For Johnny Depp, the performance has always been larger than the screen. It has been life itself. Johnny Depp's cultural impact is undeniable, etched into cinema, fashion, and even language itself, as Captain Jack Sparrow became one of the most imitated characters of all time. He transformed eccentricity into mainstream appeal, making audiences root for misfits, outcasts, and outsiders who mirrored the alienation he felt in childhood. His work with Tim Burton redefined Gothic cinema for a generation, while his roles in Finding Neverland and Donnie Brasco proved that beneath the costumes and quirks lay a deeply human storyteller. Beyond the screen, his personal style, tattoos, bohemian clothing, and effortless cool made him a fashion icon, inspiring countless artists and fans. He embodied the archetype of the rebellious actor-musician, someone who refused to conform to Hollywood's expectations. Even in controversy, his ability to spark debate showed his relevance as a cultural lightning rod, a figure people felt strongly about whether in admiration or criticism. His voice, gestures, and even his offbeat interviews shaped the mythology of an artist who never played by the rules. To many, he became proof that vulnerability and strangeness could exist at the center of popular culture. His characters often carried scars, secrets, and shadows, reflecting not only his inner life but the human condition itself. In shaping modern cinema's rogues and dreamers, Depp also shaped how audiences see difference, eccentricity, and beauty in imperfection. His artistic evolution can be traced as a restless pursuit of transformation, always fleeing from the cage of predictability. Early in his career, he rejected leading man roles to play dreamers, eccentrics, and flawed figures, prioritizing craft over celebrity. With Edward Scissorhands, he embraced vulnerability, while Edward displayed his ability to turn ridicule into charm. Pirates of the Caribbean brought him global superstardom, but he resisted being defined by Jack Sparrow, seeking darker roles in Sweeney Todd and Black Massachusetts. As a musician, he channeled his creative fire into collaborations and touring, building a parallel identity that grounded him beyond Hollywood. His journey reflects the paradox of an actor who wanted to disappear into characters but could never escape his own legend. Each era of his career reveals reinvention. Teen idol turned gothic hero, cult star turned blockbuster pirate, musician turned director. The through line has always been risk-taking, whether in the roles he chose, the directors he worked with, or the personal battles he waged. Depp is an artist of contradictions, private yet public, whimsical yet dark, celebrated yet contested. His evolution is less a straight line than a chaotic map of experiments, failures, triumphs, and comebacks. This unpredictability has kept him fascinating, even when his choices puzzled critics or audiences. For Depp, evolution was not optional. It was survival, a way of keeping art alive in a world eager to box him in. Professional achievements came in waves, marked by both acclaim and commercial success that few actors could balance so fluidly. He earned 3 Academy Award nominations, one for Jack Sparrow, another for J.M. Barrie in Finding Neverland, and a third for Sweeney Todd, each reflecting different facets of his range. He won a Golden Globe, a Screen Actors Guild Award, and countless critics' honors across decades, while his films collectively grossed billions. Few performers have managed to dominate both art house circles and summer blockbusters. Yet Depp bridged those worlds with audacity. He was recognized not just for talent, but for his ability to make unusual choices marketable, a rare alchemy in Hollywood. His role in creating franchises like Pirates of the Caribbean secured his place among cinema's most valuable stars. Meanwhile, his collaborations with auteurs, from Tim Burton to Michael Mann, proved he could hold his own in complex artistic visions. Outside of acting, his success with Dior Sauvage redefined how actors could shape global branding, while his music career with Hollywood Vampires offered new kinds of recognition. Awards and box office were milestones, but Depp's real achievement was building a career on his terms, even when it cost him. The resilience to rise after falls, to reinvent after setbacks, became part of his professional mythology. His achievements are not only measured in trophies, but in the cultural memory of characters who continue to resonate decades later. Personal challenges, however, have been as defining as professional triumphs, shaping Depp's image as much as his performances. His struggles with substance use, volatile relationships, and legal disputes became fuel for tabloids, often overshadowing his artistry. The legal battles with Amber Heard, in particular, split public opinion and thrust his private life under relentless scrutiny. For years, headlines focused more on his courtroom appearances than his films, creating one of the most polarizing celebrity narratives in modern history. Financial troubles and lawsuits added to the turbulence, with former managers and business partners accusing him of reckless spending. Yet through every setback, Depp's resilience was striking. He continued to create, whether through acting, music, or now directing. The U.S. trial verdict in 2022 was celebrated by supporters as vindication, though debates continue about its meaning and legacy. His challenges humanized him, reminding the world that beneath the fame lay a flawed, fragile person navigating extraordinary pressures. For some, these struggles tarnished his career beyond repair. For others, they made his survival all the more compelling. His personal life will always remain part of the narrative, inseparable from his art, but it has also deepened the rawness he brings to his roles. In wrestling with demons publicly, he has become not only an actor, but a mirror of celebrity culture itself. Today, Johnny Depp's story remains unfinished, and his place in cultural memory is still evolving with each new chapter. Having weathered storms that might have ended other careers, he continues to create with defiance, whether in films like Jean Du Barry, in music tours with Hollywood vampires, or in directing Modi. His legacy is already secure as one of the most transformative actors of his generation, a man who turned eccentricity into power and vulnerability into strength. He gave cinema some of its most iconic characters, from Edward Scissorhands to Jack Sparrow, while refusing to be reduced to any single role. He redefined what it means to be a star: unpredictable, rebellious, magnetic, and flawed. His life has been a mosaic of contradictions: fame and failure, triumph and tragedy, collapse and rebirth. Yet it is precisely these contradictions that make him compelling, that ensure his story resonates with audiences who see in him both cautionary tale and inspiration. As he moves forward, he carries the scars of past battles, but also the freedom of survival. Whether history remembers him more for his art or his controversies, there is no denying his impact on cinema and culture. For Johnny Depp, the journey was never about perfection. It was about transformation, about refusing to settle, about forever chasing the next reinvention. And in that restless pursuit, he has become not just an actor, but a legend, one whose performance continues long after the credits roll.